Hello, my lovely little butterflies. Welcome back to Revelations of the Scarf. We are so sorry for being so late on this series, but we are back and hopefully not going to ghost y'all. Again. This chapter is written by Noir, the art was done by Lazy, and for the voice actors, I'll be playing the narrator and Sabine.
I'm Lacey, and I'll be playing Marinette / Ladybug and Tikki.
Hi, I'm January, and I'll be voicing Adrien / Noir.
We want to thank you all again for all the support and waiting for us to post. Thank you guys so much. Again, none of this is possible without you guys. Now, Chapter 4, Happy Place. Marinette was stressed, and she didn't know what to do about it.
I just don't know, Tikki. Does he know, or is he just messing with me to get in my head?
She was pacing back and forth in her room. Marinette, stop. I can hear you pacing. Marinette heard her mom, Sabine, say from downstairs. Marinette stopped pacing and lay down on the chase.
What's going on? I don't understand what's happening with Adrien,
she said with her head in her hands. Tikki flew up to Marinette.
Mari, don't think about it. Please, do something to distract yourself. Like what?
She asked, but it was still muffled by her hands. Tikki smiled.
You know, it's still gonna be cold for the next few months. You should make a pair of mittens for Chat Noir.
Marinette moved her hands and looked at Tikki.
His outfit covers his hands already, and our suits are magic. We don't get cold.
Marinette said.
Yes, but you still get cold as your normal selves. And I think that Chat Noir's Kwame would like having something to snuggle with.
Tikki said, thinking about how she snuggled in Marinette's mittens. Marinette groaned and slowly started to sit up, but once she sat up, she had no desire to move.
I don't even know a size or what color I should do,
she blabbered.
Marinette, you're thinking too much. Just do what makes you happy. I'm sure black mittens will suffice. I don't think he's gonna be mad that you made him something. Plus, that means you can practice making a different size,
Tikki said, not wanting to accept any other excuses. Marinette looked at her computer screen. 4:57.
I have 4 hours until I have to patrol with him. Do you think I could finish them by then?
She asked the Kwame. Tikki smiled.
You definitely can with my help,
Tikki said, and then flew towards her fabric stock, pulling out a black fabric. It was soft. It was the same fabric as the one she made her mittens out of, just a different color. Marinette smiled, grabbed her sketchbook, and then sat at her desk. She flipped open her sketchbook and scanned through the pages, looking for her design of the gloves she made the other day. She found the design and started cutting the fabric.
Hey Tikki, can you grab me a button?
Marinette said. Tikki smiled and quickly flew to Marinette's button door. Marinette kept cutting the fabric precisely. Then the little red blur came up with the button, holding it up to the fabric, checking to see if it matched.
Nuh-uh,
she said, then flew back towards the door, scanning through it again to find a button that better fit the fabric. Marinette smiled and shook her head at the Kwame. It was adorable to watch the red Kwame look so perfect. After about 30 seconds of buttons clinking together, the red Kwame came back with a different button, holding it up to the fabric to make sure it matched.
Yep,
Tikki said, then set the button down on the little plate so that Marinette couldn't lose it. Marinette smiled at the Kwame's eagerness to help her. Then she looked back down at the fabric and continued to cut it as precisely as possible. 2 hours passed, and Marinette hadn't left her chair once, still focused on making the mittens for him. She was adding the final touches to one of the mittens.
Hey Tikki, can you check the stairs to see if my parents are in the house?
Marinette asked. Tikki flew to her hatch and phased her head through, then she popped back up.
No, they're not, but I can still smell something from the bakery, so I think they're down there,
Tikki said. Marinette threaded through the button, connecting it to the mitten.
Okay, great. Can you go downstairs and get me something to eat? Something that won't make a mess,
she said. Tikki nodded and made a small squeak so that Marinette could hear her. Then she heard the magic of Tikki phasing through the wall. A few minutes later, Tikki came back with a pain au chocolat and a glass of water.
Thanks, and can you grab me some more thread and another one of those black buttons?
Marinette asked while pointing to the button that was now sewn into the mitten. Marinette set the finished mitten down and shook out her hands, relieving them of the tension that started building up. She then took a bite of the pastry in front of her, and once she set the pain au chocolat down, Tikki was back with another button and some black thread. Tikki gasped.
Wait, can I do something?
The Kwame asked. Marinette started to work on the next mitten.
Sure,
and pushed the finished mitten towards Tikki. The next 2 hours passed in a blur to the both of them. Tikki ended up grabbing some dark green fabric and attempting to sew a little cat paw into them. Marinette was adding the finishing touches to the mittens when she saw the time.
Oh crap, I have 30 minutes.
She said while grabbing some dark green fabric. She continued to do her normal routine with all her designs, adding the final detail and flipping the gloves the correct way. Within the few seconds of Marinette setting the finished product down on the desk, her phone alarm rang, indicating that she had patrol.
Come on, Tikki, spots on!
Marinette said. Her room was encased with a light pink glow, and when it dissipated, Marinette was gone and was replaced with a polka dot superhero. She grabbed a small bag and shoved the mittens in, and then she hopped onto her balcony and flew off. She landed on a roof on the other side of Paris, patiently waiting for her partner.
Hello, milady.
She heard a voice behind her.
Hey, kitty.
She said with a smile. He looked down to the little bag she had.
Bring some food for me, milady.
He asked with a smile. She looked down at the bag.
No, actually, it's, for you.
She said. His eyes went wide.
For me? Aww.
He reached for the bag. She pulled the bag back, holding it out of his reach.
Hold up. Let me give you some context.
She paused before continuing.
So, I love to sew and stuff like that, and I wanted to have some practice on this one design I made. I had to practice making them bigger, and I didn't really want to leave them in my room gathering dust. So, I made them for you.
She said, then held the bag out towards him. He looked at her in confusion and took the bag and looked inside. He smiled and pulled the mittens out of the bag.
Ladybug.
I know that you wear a full body costume, but my Kwame likes to snuggle into my gloves when I'm not using them, so I thought that maybe your Kwame could do the same.
She said. He looked up at her.
Your Kwame?
Yeah, she helped me make them. You might be able to see a small cat paw. She sewed that in.
Ladybug said, pointing to the small cat paw between the base of the other fingers and the thumb. He smiled and put them back into the bag.
I love them. Thank you so much, Ladybug.
He said with sincerity.
Of course, Chaton. It was truly
She was cut off by her face making contact with his chest, his arms entrapping her into an embrace. His chin rested on the top of her head. Ladybug nuzzled her head into his chest. She never realized how much taller he was than her until now.
No, truly. Only one person has ever done this for me, and it means so much to me that you thought of me,
he said. She smiled against him, finding comfort in the up and down of his chest, holding on to him tighter, indicating her response without words. She gave one final squeeze before pulling away.
Does this mean you're finally professing your love to me, my bugaboo?
He said. Ladybug shook her head.
You wish.
She started to walk away from him.
Come on, let's get this done quickly so that we can get out of the cold.
Ladybug said. Shat smiled.
I'll follow your lead, bugaboo,
he said, opening up his hands to allow her to go first. She smiled and swung her yo-yo, shooting up into the air. She looked behind her to see Chat Noir following behind. She had a smile on her face for the entire patrol, and so did Chat Noir. When patrol was over, they both landed on the same roof from earlier that night.
I'll see you later, kitty.
Ladybug said.
Bye, milady. I'll be wearing my mittens whenever I can,
he said, before extending his staff and disappearing into the cold night. Ladybug smiled and zipped home. Once she was safely in her room, she de-transformed, encasing the room in a pink glow again. Tikki emerged from the earrings with a yawn, and she flew over to her stash of sweets. Marinette sighed and walked over to her desk, starting to clean up everything that she used from her little sewing session earlier. She grabbed the green fabric, thinking about how Tikki used it to make the little paws. After everything was cleaned up, she went up to her bed.
Thank you for helping me earlier, Tikki,
she said, sleep consuming her body.
Of course, Mari. I thought the green would look cute,
she said. Marinette smiled.
Yeah, they were quite cute.
Before she could finish her sentence, her eyes shut. Tikki slightly giggled and lay down next to her head, letting sleep consume her as well.
Okay, so I know this was supposed to be out like a week ago, but in our defense, Flynn is in Ireland as of now, and they couldn't find time to record. But luckily, they found a window and recorded for this chapter and the next one as well. So I can assure you that the next chapter will either be coming out next week on either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, depending on when January records her parts and if I want to edit. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Let us know how you feel about it in the comments. Love y'all. Bye-bye.